Hi, this is Beastly Eel with Eel Talk, Episode 5, and today we're going to be talking about WandaVision, Episode 5. Now, there are huge spoilers in this one. If you have not seen it, please pause the video, watch the episode, and then come join us. I'll give you a second. Alright, so this episode was huge. Um, it starts off with Wanda and Vision getting used to the idea of having babies. They have trouble with it, very obviously. Then Agnes comes in, the neighbor, and she comes in and she's like, "Oh, I'm here to help." And Vision's kind of like, "No, we got it. It's no big deal." And she stops and she's like, "Oh, um, okay." And she's acting very different. She's not as upbeat as she's used to. And Wanda's like, "Come on, Vision, like we can have her help us." And he's kind of like, "I really don't think we need her." And she's like, "Wanda, do you want me to take it from the top?" Making it seem as if it's some sort of show. So Vision's kind of very confused at what's going on. So he decides to agree with Wanda in letting Agnes kind of help out. So she helps out, and Vision's trying to get more information out of Wanda, and he's not getting any. She's like, no, she's just a happy, helpful person. He's like, but she was acting kind of strange, wasn't she? And she was like, no, she's just trying to be helpful. She's very much standoffish. She's trying to very well make sure that he doesn't understand what's fully going on. So anyway, Wanda and Vision finally get a little bit of a break, and while this is going on, we notice that now during all this, Agnes is kind of being the comic relief, but all of a sudden Agnes isn't doing anything, and the kids are silent. And Wanda and Vision are kind of like, "Oh, she fixed the problem." And they look inside the crib, and the kids aren't there. It's just like, "Uh-oh." They turn around, and the kids are behind them, 5 years old. And Agnes makes a joke saying, "Oh, they don't never stay young forever." And it's significant because they grew up on their own. They kind of shot up 5 years without a problem. And then the opening credits happen, and the whole episode is based in the 80s, which is fine by me, but it's just interesting to kind of see a different take on this, but also seeing the kids grow up really quickly. I wasn't expecting them to grow up that fast. So anyway, the opening credits end, and they're trying to continue to run their life. Now, while the episode is happening, Sword is really trying to crack down on what's going on. Well, come to find out, Sword is really trying to figure out exactly what's going on, and they're using Monica's words against her, saying that Wanda is a terrorist. She is taking over, trying to control everything. Now, Monica doesn't believe that. She makes it clear that she thinks that there's something else going on, that it's Wanda's not trying to be the bad person. And I agree with her a little bit. But anyway, the Sword executive does not agree. He thinks Wanda's the problem. So what he kind of uses against Monica is the fact that she uses that she wasn't in control of herself and she was in pain, which is very odd thinking about that because it's Wanda and we can't really see her being the bad person. But this is new territory. So anyway, the episode continues on, and they make jokes about like, well, why Wanda doesn't have a special nickname, like a hero nickname, like Captain America or Captain Marvel or anything like that, and she's just Wanda. Now, the episode continues, and Monica's trying to figure out what the heck's going on because she doesn't understand how things changed when she went in there. Like, did reality change? Did things get manipulated? She's not quite sure what's going on. So we go back into the episode, and Vision's kind of very suspicious about what's going on. He's very concerned at everything that's going on, and nobody seems to know what's actually happening, at least in Vision's eyes. So anyway, the kids are washing in the sink, and I use that term because they were actually just trying to bathe a dog. So the two of them are trying to really deal with figuring this out. And Wanda realizes that, oh, something's not straight, something's not right here. What are the kids doing? So she realizes it's a dog. So she makes it clear, like, guys, you really shouldn't have it. Vision comes in, and he's like, no, 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 you guys aren't old enough. And they agree to it to an age of 10 years old. And that's when the kids grow up 5 more years, which is weird that they can do it on their own. Very concerning. But regardless of that, they're 10 years old and now they get to keep the dog because they're 10 years old. So, Agnes comes back in with a doghouse. Now that's when Vision's kind of like, oh, here she comes with exactly what we need. And she comes in with the doghouse and everything seems to be hunky dory. And Vision's very suspicious of what's going on because it doesn't make sense to him. He doesn't understand how things are going in this way. So he leaves and goes to work. So now we go back to outside, where Monica's really trying to figure out what's going on. Now she realizes that something's not right, and she goes to look at her clothes because something makes her think that something's not right. So anyway, she does an analysis on her clothes, and she finds out that it's mostly Kevlar, which is bulletproof vest. So she realizes that her clothes were not taken away, but manipulated to match the time frame in which the episode is based on. So she realizes, while shooting her clothes, by the way, realizes that it's bulletproof. And she realizes that it gets manipulated. So she has this ingenious idea that because it's the 80s, if she uses 80s technology, it's not going to be manipulated. So that's when she uses an 80s drone. She uses an 80s drone and drives it into Westview. So she gets inside and she kind of sees what's going on. Now, we're going back into Wanda's house. The kids are kind of like, oh, how come dad's at work? Blah, 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 blah. It's Saturday. Does he not love us? Blah, 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 blah. Very whiny. And I hate saying it that way, but the kids are just acting as if everything's their fault when realistically it's just Wanda and Vision having a fight. But I can imagine 10-year-olds not understanding what's going on. That being said, they all hear something going on. They go outside, they see this drone come in. Now Monica's watching it, driving in, and she's like, oh, I can see her. Wanda, hey, stop what you're doing. You need to protect everyone. You're hurting the people of Westview. And her eyes turn bright red. And that's when the director of swords says, open fire. And Monica is like, what are you talking about? She goes, there's no weapons on an 80s droid. He goes, shoot her now. And that's when the droid goes blank. It sparks up. You can't see anything. Nothing's going on. Well, now the alarms start going off. There's a breach at Westview. Everyone comes outside. And we're all standing outside watching what's coming out of the edge of Westview. Well, here comes Wanda. When she comes out, she's in full Avengers outfit. She's carrying the droid. She throws it to the ground. Now everyone's guns are pointed at her. There's green lasers all over her, aimed at her. And she's unfazed. And she goes, "Did you drop this?" And he's trying to talk to her, and she's just not having it. She goes, "I want you to stay away from Westview. This is my home. You're hurting people, blah, 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 blah." None of that goes into her head. That's when Monica comes in, and she's like, "Wanda, I didn't know that the droid had a weapon." She goes, "I know deep down that the reason why you had me help you give birth to your children is because you trusted me at a level that we don't understand, but at a deep, conscious level." She goes, "I'm not trying to hurt you." And Monica goes, "I'm not trying to hurt you either." She goes, "But you come in my world again, and I will make sure I destroy you." And she waves her hand, and all the lasers, instead of going towards her, goes to the director of Sword. Huge moment. She walks back into Westview, and finally the magic wears off on them, and they stop what they're doing. Sorry, had to get my train of thought. So anyway, that ends. And Monica's realizing something's not right and it's getting worse. To prove to Monica that Wanda is not the good guy, he shows her, the director of Sword, sorry, shows her a video of Wanda breaking into Sword, going into a facility that had Vision's body in it, taking him out and bringing him to Westview. Proves that she's reanimating his corpse. Now, we don't know actually that she brought his body to Westview, but it's assumed. Anyway, Monica's realizing that, oof, maybe things aren't exactly how she thought. So we go back into Westview. Vision's at work, where the kids think he's trying to avoid them. And he's realizing from his coworker that things aren't right. So he uses his Mind Stone abilities, which apparently he still kept, and realizes that he's stuck there, unable to leave, trying to contact his family outside of Westview but can't. Puts him back into the reality that Wanda created. And he goes back to normal. And Vision's very distraught by this. So anyway, Vision leaves work. This is where things get a little more serious. So Vision comes back home, and Wanda and him are talking. Actually, before all this, I forgot to mention. So Vision leaves work. The kids lose the dog, can't find him anywhere. Wanda and the kids are looking for the dog everywhere, and they get to Agnes's place. And that's where Agnes has a towel wrapped up, which we assume has the dog in it. And she's explaining to them that I'm so sorry, in the same voice she used when Vision messed up her plans and talking about taking over washing the kids. "I'm so sorry. I didn't find him in time. He was eating my plants and he just didn't make it. I'm so sorry." So the kids are very distraught by this and they're like, "Mommy, Mommy, save the dog. Bring him back to life. Bring him back to life." And Wanda's trying to explain to them that death is a natural occurrence and you have to let things go, which is very hypocritical. I say that because she brought back Vision. Anyway, she's claiming that the kids need to learn how to understand death. Now, she's terrified that they're going to try to grow up. She goes, "No, no, 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 no. Please don't grow up. Please don't grow up. Please don't grow up." And they don't. At least not yet. She's like, "Please, please, 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 please." So anyway, Vision comes in and sees everything that goes on, and he hugs his sons, and he goes, "I'm so sorry, guys. This must be so hard on you." And they leave to their house together. So the kids go upstairs. Vision digs a grave in the back because he comes in, washes his hands, and talks to Wanda. And he confronts her, saying, "Hey, you know, why are you doing this to Westview?" And that's when the credits start to roll. She's like, "Oh, no, no reason. We're not having this discussion." And she leaves. And the conversation continues as the credits roll, which kind of proves that Wanda's trying to end it with the credits and Vision isn't having it. So the two of them go into the living room and the credits finally stop and Vision gets pissed. He raises his voice and starts to levitate as if ready to attack, and she levitates as if ready to attack, and they're yelling at each other. And they finally calm down, sit down, and have a conversation. How he thinks, Vision, he thinks that she's not doing it on purpose, and Wanda's trying to avoid everything. And she just goes, I just want my happily ever after. And what we find out too is Vision doesn't remember anything before Westview. He makes it very clear in that little argument between the two of them. Now, the doorbell rings. And Vision goes, oh, are you making this happen because you don't want to have this conversation anymore? And she goes, no, no, this isn't me. Like, I didn't do this. I did not do this. And by the way, Sword is watching this as this happens too. Darcy. So Darcy's watching it as well. So anyway, the door opens up and we see gray hair. First thought, Quicksilver. Correct, but not the one from the MCU. It is the one from the X-Men universe. And that's when Wanda goes, Pedro? And he goes, of course, it's your brother. And that's when Darcy goes, oh my God, she recasted Pedro. And that's how the episode ends. A lot to unpack. First thing, Wanda's in control of everything, and she can leave whenever she wants, which threw me off. I did not know she could do that. Blew my mind. It's been proven that she has recreated and kind of brought Vision's corpse to life. And I use corpse very loosely because he's not a living being, which is gross. I really wish that it was my imagination, but apparently it's proven. I still don't think she's the bad guy in the grand scheme of things. I think she's controlling everyone, but not on purpose. I think in some sort of way her powers are getting the best of her and she's losing control because of her grief, and that's why everybody in Westview is under her control. I also think that the reason why Agatha Hawthorne is possibly in it as Agnes and Dot is possibly Clea is their roles in the show. Agnes is much more a central role, which would make her kind of more magical because she knows what's going on and is kind of helping out. She's still not in control because she's not as powerful as Wanda, and Dot kind of making Wanda more of her slave in the beginning episodes, kind of reassess the fact that they are in control of themselves slightly, more so than all the other characters for sure. Anyway, the kids can still be part of Mephisto's soul. They're much more powerful than I realized. They can manipulate their ages, which messed with me completely. Um, Monica's on Scarlet Witch's side. Fun fact though, Scarlet Witch is not her name, and I think that's very significant because her nickname in the comics is Scarlet Witch, but she has not been given that name in the cinematic universe. And I think the reason for it is because she has not dealt with sorcerers yet. This is her first kind of endeavor with that. And even though it's not officially claimed that she will be, or she has yet, she will be when she starts to work with Doctor Strange in his second movie. But I digress. I just find that significant because her name is still just one. The next, Quicksilver is back, but not the way we thought. So I'm thinking, here's my thoughts. Wanda cannot bring people back from the dead. That's significant. I'm not saying she isn't powerful enough. She should be, but she's subconsciously not doing so. Vision does not count. He is not a living being. End of story. Don't care. He's a computer. Her brother is a living being. She wants her brother back, specifically for the fact that the twins, they relate to her because she is also a twin. Her powers, because of the multiverse that is coming in Doctor Strange 2, brought back a Quicksilver that exists in another universe. Is not the one from her universe, but the one from the X-Men universe. Which is why they use the same actor from the X-Men universe to bring Pedro, aka Quicksilver, back to life. Which explosively shows that the multiverse exists. Now, I know that was a lot to unpack, but that's still exactly where I think it's going to go. The multiverse exists, and it's been proven this episode because Quicksilver from the X-Men universe is here. Wanda is in full control of everything that's going on. More so than I ever thought. She could leave and come and go as she pleases. Threw me off. She's controlling Vision's corpse like a puppet, but not so much that she thought she could, because he still has some of himself in there. Her kids could still be Mephisto's soul in there, and Agnes could still be Agatha Harkinson. None of this is confirmed, other than the Quicksilver thing. But we haven't proven that multiple universes exist yet. That being said, still a strong possibility if you've seen the movies. This episode was huge. I mean, I'm excited for episode 6 because we're going to see how Quicksilver really acts with everybody else. Like, is he going to be like, oh, where are the rest of the X-Men? Blah, 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 blah. Where's my dad, Magneto? Blah, 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 blah. All that stuff will be exciting to see in episode 6. So I'm really, really excited to see what happens on Friday. It's pretty much all that's happened and all I think that's going to happen in the future. So, this is Yield Talk episode 6. If you like the content that I have, please like and subscribe below. And as always, this is Beastly Eel signing out. Have a great night, everybody.